Welcome back. This is part 2. Let's continue. Question 21. Which role describes a similarity and a difference between chlorine and bromine? Chlorine and bromine are group 7 members, halogens. So, their similarities both react with aqueous potassium iodide. Why? Because you know that in group 7, displacement reaction takes place. A more reactive halogen can displace a less reactive halogen, and their reactivity decreases down to the group. So fluorine is the most reactive. So that means that uh, both of them can react with aqueous potassium iodide, because both chlorine and bromine are more reactive than iodine, so they can displace it. So that's their similarities. So that means with that, we can get our answer to be D, because the only one that has that option, both react with aqueous potassium iodide. And then also the second option is correct. Chlorine is more reactive than bromine, because chlorine is above bromine in the periodic table, and we say that their reactivity decreases down the group. So the answer is D. Question 22. Which statement describes transition element? So we are looking at transition element. Properties of transition element: they have high density, they have high melting point. So our correct answer is A. Question 23. Which gas is made when powdered zinc is added to dilute acid? Now, metal plus acid will give us salt and hydrogen gas. So don't forget that equation. Metal plus acid will give us salt and hydrogen gas. Question 24. The diagram represents the structure of a solid. Which solid does the diagram represent? So this diagram represents an alloy. Okay, it does not represent graphite or sodium chloride. This is an alloy. So our answer is B. How do we know? Alloy is a metal mixture. So look at it. I'm mixing two different metals. Question 25. Steel is an alloy of iron. Which statement explains why steel is stronger than iron? Now, the reason is simple, because when we form alloy, from the picture here, you can see that there is a kind of distortion. So to prevent the atoms from sliding over each other quickly. So the same thing here. Steel is an alloy of carbon and iron. So the carbon atoms prevent the layers of iron atoms from sliding. So that is why it will be stronger than iron. So our answer should be D. The carbon atoms prevent layers of iron atoms from sliding over each other. Question 26. Three students X, Y, and Z are told that solid P reacts with dilute acid and also conduct electricity. The table shows the student's suggestion about the identity of P. Look at it. Which students are correct? So let's look at it one after the other. Solid P reacts with dilute acid and conduct electricity. Now, which material fits? Let's start with copper. Copper does not react with acid. It's very unreactive. And iron reacts and it conducts electricity. While graphite conducts electricity, but it does not react. So our answer is Y, which is iron. So option C is the correct answer. Y only. Question 27. Which statement explains why aluminum appears to be unreactive? Aluminum appears to be unreactive because it has a protective oxide layer. Whenever aluminum is exposed, it reacts with oxygen and forms an oxide layer that protects it from reacting, and so it appears to be unreactive. So option A is correct answer. Question 28. During electrolysis of aluminum oxide, the mass of the carbon anode changes. Which row describes the change and give a reason for this change? Now, the mass will decrease. This is because it will react with oxygen and then it will form carbon dioxide. So that means it will burn away. So the mass decreases. So A and B, the answer is between A and B. And let's look at the reason. Say carbon reacts to form carbon dioxide. Carbon dissolve in molten cryolite. So no. So our answer is A. Decreases. Reason is because carbon reacts to form carbon dioxide. Question 29. Several processes are used to treat domestic water. Which row identifies a reason for the given process? So chlorination removes impurity. No. B. Filtration removes insoluble solid. That's correct. Sedimentation removes soluble solid. No. Use of carbon kills bacteria. No. Chlorination kills bacteria, not the use of carbon. Question 30. What is the equation for photosynthesis? So this is very familiar. Photosynthesis, we have carbon dioxide plus water to give us glucose and oxygen. So option B is the correct answer. Question 31. Which statement describes how the carbon-hydrogen bond in methane gas in the atmosphere contribute to global warming? You know that methane is a greenhouse gas. So for greenhouse gases, they absorb infrared radiation from the earth and then re-emit some back to the earth, and that's what makes the earth to become warm. That's what causes global warming. So the heat is trapped. So the correct answer for that will be D. They absorb thermal energy from the earth and emit some of the energy towards the earth. Now you have to be careful here. It is not from the sun directly. They are not getting thermal energy from the sun directly. It's actually from the earth's surface that they absorb the thermal energy. Okay, and they emit some of this energy towards the earth, thereby causing global warming. Don't forget, it is from the earth's surface, not from the sun directly. Next question, question 32. The structural formula of two hydrocarbons are shown. Which statement about the hydrocarbon is correct? Now, from the question structural formula, if you look at it, they have the same molecular formula: 1 2 3 4 carbon, 1 2 3 4 carbon, hydrogen 5 7 10 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. So the same molecular formula, the structure is only different. So they are C, structural isomers. Next question, question 33. The structural formula of compound Q is given. What is compound Q? Now, this is an ester. Now, if you are naming ester, we have to check which side is the acid and which one is the alcohol. Esterification is a reaction between carboxylic acid and alcohol to give us ester and water. So the acid is from this place is the first side, which is butanoic acid. How do I know? 1 2 3 4 carbon. So it is butanoic acid. Then the next one is the alcohol, 1 2 3, which is propanol. Now, in order to name it, remember the rules. We name the alcohol first and we change it to an alkyl. So it is going to be propyl. Then we have our butanoic acid, butanoid. The oic we change to ATE. The IC acid we change to ATE. So the correct answer is propyl butanoid. So don't forget, you name your alcohol first and then the carboxylic acid. Alcohol changes to alkyl, YL, then ethanoic acid changes to ATE. Next question, 34. The fractional distillation of petroleum is shown. Which fraction contains hydrocarbons with the longest chain length? Now, the fractions of hydrocarbons, their chain length increases as you go down. So that means the first one, fuel gas, has the shortest uh, chain length, and then bitumen will have the longest chain length. So, but here our option is from here to here. So that means our answer is D. Question 35. Which equation represents the cracking of an alkane? So cracking simply means breaking a long alkane into a smaller alkane and alkene. So obviously our answer would be D, because it's the one that is showing us long chain alkane broken into uh, alkane and then alkene. Question 36. What is the structure of the product of the reaction of propene with bromine? Propene will react with bromine because it is unsaturated. But bromine is used to test for unsaturation. If there's color change, then it's unsaturated. If there is no color change, it's alkane. So since propene is a double bond, then there's going to be a reaction. So uh, the double bond will open, and then two bromine will be added. The correct structure is the one with bromine on each carbon of the double bond. Please take note of that, okay? Because the answer can be C or D, but the correct answer is actually C. And the reason is because bromine are added to the two carbons that have the double bond. So this C is showing us that the double bond was on these two carbons. Then when it breaks apart, the two bromine are added to the two carbons with the double bond. But if you look at this option, that's not the case. So anyways, if the double bond is here, look at where the bromine is. It's supposed to be on this carbon. If it were here, that means this bromine is supposed to be here or here. So that is why D is not the correct answer. The atom that you are adding, whether it's bromine or chlorine, must be added to the carbon atoms with the double bond. The two carbon atoms with the double bond. Question 37. In reaction R, 2000 molecules of ethene react to form a single molecule X only. Which term describes reaction R? Ethene and X. So, since we are talking about 2000 molecules, that's uh, polymerization. And the type of polymerization for alkene is addition polymerization. So that means we have our option reduced to A and B only. And this is the reason is addition is because you are adding the double bond breaks apart so that you can add more uh, repeat units. Okay, so then next ethene, which is this, is our monomer. So automatically that means that our answer is A. And then our X, of course, is the polymer that is going to be formed. Question 38. Part of the structure of a polymer is shown. Which statement about the polymer are correct? 1. The polymer is nylon. No, it's not a nylon because nylon is a synthetic polymer. This is natural polymer from the structure. Then 2. The polymer is formed by condensation polymerization. Yes. And 3. There are ester linkages between the monomers. No, there are no ester linkages. Rather, what we have is amide linkage. Okay, so our answer is going to be C, which is 2 only. Ester linkage, we have to have something like COO, but here what we have is CONH, which is amide link. So our answer is C. Question 39. The concentration of acid and alkali can be determined by titration. Which piece of equipment are needed to perform a titration? So here in titration, you need a burette and you need a pipette. So correct option is D, 1 and 4. So we don't need gas range and we don't need this. So the answer is D, 2 and 4. Question 40. Which chromatogram shows how the RF value of a substance is calculated? So RF value is calculated as distance traveled by substance divided by distance traveled by solvent. So you need to memorize this. So the correct diagram is the one showing this ratio properly, which is option B. So RF is equals to Y, which represents distance traveled by the substance, divided by X, which represents distance traveled by the solvent. So B is the correct answer. All right, thank you very much. I'll see you in my next video. Don't forget to like, share, and drop a comment if you have a question or anything you want to ask me. Thank you. Bye.